Hey guys, welcome to my channel Self Love Lifestyle. I am your boy T, and on this episode of Self Love Lifestyle, we are going to be discussing how to find the greatest love of all. Yeah, that's right. Today's discussion is going to be about how to find the greatest love of all. Now, check this out. We are in the this is the fourth part of a series entitled Learning to Love Yourself is the Greatest Love of All. For those of you who are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, and if you do so, don't forget to hit the notification button so that you can be notified when I drop another valuable upload. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is the fourth part of a four-part series entitled Learning to Love Yourself is the Greatest Love of All. If you're new to the channel and you want to really understand this series in depth, then feel free to go and check out episode 1, 2, and 3, because episode 4, which is this one right now, is going to be the final episode to this series. Learning to Love Yourself is the Greatest Love of All. If you want to get it in depth, just go back and check out those previous episodes and kind of catch up. Today, we're going to be talking about how to find the greatest love of all. Now, in the song The Greatest Love of All, written by Whitney Houston said that the greatest love of all is easy to achieve. And I quote, Whitney Houston said that the greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Now, how is it that if something is so easy to achieve, why do so many of us find it so difficult achieving this greatest love of all? Why do so many of us find it so hard achieving the greatest love of all? When Whitney Houston said that the greatest love of all is so easy to achieve. Is it because we are looking for love in all the wrong places? Is it because we are misinformed as to what the greatest love of all truly means? Or is it because we don't really and truly understand the meaning of the word love to begin with? Because Whitney Houston said the greatest love of all is easy to achieve. And yet some of us have spent a lifetime and will never achieve the greatest love of all. When I listen to this song, The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston, I begin to realize that the reason I was not achieving the greatest love of all, and the reason that you're not achieving the greatest love of all, is because the greatest love of all is easy to achieve. I was not achieving the greatest love of all, and you will not achieve the greatest love of all, simply because I'm looking for the greatest love of all outside of myself. Whitney Houston said, I found the greatest love of all inside of me. In the song, The Greatest Love of All, Whitney Houston said that I found the greatest love inside of me. Now think about it. If she can find the greatest love inside of herself, then this would mean that the greatest love of all exists within each and every one of us. You see, we've been looking for the greatest love of all in all the wrong places. I was trying to find the greatest love of all in a relationship, in a person. And maybe you were doing the same. We're all trying to find the greatest love of all within somebody else. When according to Whitney Houston said that the greatest love of all was inside of herself. Which means that this greatest love of all is inside of each and every one of us. So think about it. If I'm waiting on that special person to come along and fill my cup, If I'm sitting around waiting on that special person to come and fill a void, an empty void in my life, then it would be impossible for me to find the greatest love of all. Because according to Whitney Houston, the greatest love of all can only be found inside of you. This is so profound, because when I discovered that the greatest love of all can only be found inside of myself, I started to become a more happier person. You see, guys, we've been hoodwinked. We've been lied to. We've been tricked. For many years and for such a long time, with the help of television, movies, and music, we've been taught to search for love outside of ourselves. We've been taught that the only way we can experience true love is if we have experienced it through someone else. We've been conditioned to believe that we can only experience love if we receive it from someone other than ourselves. Whitney Houston said that the greatest love is easy to achieve. When I listen to the song in depth, I truly begin to understand what true love really is. I realized that until I fostered true love within myself, it would be impossible to give it or receive it from someone else. With this understanding, I'm pursuing true love. With this understanding, I am now embracing love within myself. Before this understanding, I was looking for love outside of self and only ending up in disappointments. You may also be looking for love outside of self and only ending up disappointed. It's simply because the greatest love of all is inside of you. We must all learn to practice self-love. We must all learn to understand that outside of ourselves, there is no love. Outside of ourselves, there is no happiness. If I'm not happy with myself, then how can I be happy with you? If I don't bring to myself some sort of joy, then how can I bring joy to you? I must first be happy within myself in order to bring happiness to you. You see, a person should not come into your life to make you happy. A person should come into your life to add on to a happiness you already have. I found the greatest love growing inside of me. Whitney Houston said the greatest love is easy to achieve. But in order to achieve it, you must first love yourself. You must first accept yourself. You must first find happiness with yourself. You must first learn to be alone but never lonely. This is the only way to achieve the greatest love of all, is to embrace what it means to love yourself. Whitney Houston said that the greatest love of all is easy to achieve. And so how do we achieve the greatest love of all? Well, Whitney Houston made it quite clear. She said, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And so how do we achieve the greatest love of all? And I'll say this again. Whitney Houston said, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. When nobody else loves you, when nobody else seems to care, if you could muster up the courage, if you could muster up the power to just learn to love yourself, you will be achieving the greatest love of all. When friends don't want to be your friends and loved ones don't want to be your loved ones anymore, if you could just muster up the courage to remove fear, if you could just muster up the courage to stand alone, you will be achieving what Whitney Houston calls the greatest love of all. Because if you could build up that courage, if you could just muster up that power, then you would be learning to love yourself. It doesn't care what anybody else thinks. You wouldn't care how anybody else feels about you. You see, learning to accept and love yourself is the greatest love of all. And it is something that we're not taught how to do. Most of us are taught how to people please. Most of us are taught how to be accepted by society. We're not really taught how to accept, embrace, and love ourselves. But the key to life, the key to love, the key, and I want to say this right, the key to your true manifestation of anything worthwhile, the key to your true manifestation of anything worthwhile is learning to love yourself. Once we learn to love ourselves, we will manifest everything in our lives that will also love us the same. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. It means that you have to love yourself first in order to love thy neighbor. The key to manifesting everything in our lives is to love ourselves first, because then we can only attract everything to us that's going to love us the same as we love ourselves. You feel what I'm saying? Now we're going to attract everything to us that's going to love us just as much as we love ourselves. Whitney Houston said, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And I do agree. I'm learning to love myself so that I could discover the greatest love of all. I encourage you to learn every day to love yourself so that you too can discover the greatest love of all. And that's it for the day, bro. That's it for the day, guys. I think I've made that point quite clear. I think we all understand where I'm coming from. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. If we learn to love ourselves more every day and accept ourselves more every day, if we learn to be alone but never lonely, we will truly discover the greatest love of all. And that love is self-love. Find your strength in love. Self-love lifestyle. If this has been, rewarding for you, feel free to comment, feel free to share, feel free, you still have a chance to subscribe. If anything that I've said has been rewarding to you, feel free, go ahead, comment, share, subscribe. Until we meet again, I am your boy T. This is Self-Love Lifestyle. Remember, the greatest love of all is inside of you. The greatest love of all can never be found outside of you. If you are getting your happiness from anything or anyone outside of yourselves, this is not the greatest love of all. If that guy or that girl is where you're getting your source of happiness from, then this is not the greatest love of all. If that drink or that drug or that substance is where you're getting your happiness from, then this is not the greatest love of all. Find the greatest love of all inside of you. Become the greatest love of all. Enjoy loving yourself because you are the greatest love of all. Self-love lifestyle. Peace.